Um, okay, let me see what I want to say. So, what's interesting is that I actually come from a very eclectic background, and so does Dawn. So, originally we started in business and then kind of migrated to wellness and then kind of migrated to ministry. And yoga is what brought us together. And we didn't realize that we had all that in common, but yet it was different and diversified. And we would joke that we felt a little scatterbrained because we did all these different things and loved each and every one of them. And we didn't realize how it all came together until God gave us the vision for the center. And once He gave us the vision for the center, we realized that we were supposed to create an atmosphere where people could come together and be authentic and transparent, and they could be real about their relationship with God. They could be real about who they are and how they feel about themselves and what they struggle with. And through that, they can authentically connect with each other. So the center really is a space where people can come together and we can share our lives with each other. We can grow together. We can learn together and really start to experience God's love in a very tangible form. So the different things that we do at the center include, focusing on mind, heart, body, spirit. And so bringing those different components of who we are together through various topics. And so I tend to lead kind of the spiritual side of things. And so I lead Bible studies, and I'm also a marriage and family counselor. So I do marriage and family classes and life skill classes. And then Dawn is a mindful eating coach, and so she does mindful eating, and she also does kind of life skills type stuff too. And both of us do yoga, and then Sharon brings in nutrition and her love and passion for yoga. And so it's just really cool to see how all these random pieces actually do kind of fit together, because the thing that they all have in common is helping people connect authentically with themselves, with God, and then with each other, so that they can live just better lives.
So what is your...
Yes, yeah, we do have men. We predominantly more women, but we do have men. And our hope is that when they come, that they feel something different than they felt in other places. Because the goal for leadership, we actually have a verse that we use to kind of shape and guide what we do. And it's 1 Timothy 1:5, and it says, "The aim of our charge is love that issues from a pure heart, a good conscience, and a sincere faith." And so we hope that when people come to us, that they walk in and experience what it's like to be loved and accepted. And that love comes from a very pure place, that we don't have impure motives, we don't want anything from them, that everything that we do, we try to do really well and according to God's word. So we're not ripping people off, we're not hurting people, we're not doing those sorts of things that maybe they've encountered in other places. And then above all, that everything that comes from a place of faith, that we are really Christ-centered. And so when people come through our doors, when they come and experience our programs, we really want them to come to a place where they can start to let go and start to really face what their life is like, what their faith is like, what their relationships are like, and in whatever areas that they need to grow, that whether it is something that one of us as leadership can provide them, whether it's something that the community at large can provide them, or whether it's just this space where they can actually be quiet and be still and feel safe and protected and welcomed. Well, Dawn and I started doing retreats back in 2009 in this collaborative kind of format where we were both still separate doing our own things, but we would come together for retreats. And the reason why we did retreats was it was an opportunity for people to kind of unplug from their everyday life, come and spend 2, 3, 4 days at a time, really just focusing on whatever they came to work on. So if they came to connect with people, if they came to be quiet with God, if they came to do yoga or to learn any particular class that we were offering. But it was really cool to start to see that even in the retreat setting, that all these various gifts and interests and training and everything started to come together. And we realized that the retreat became a picture, a bubble of what the center was supposed to be like day in and day out. And so what started out as these weekend retreats, we've realized is supposed to become a center, a physical place where people can come, practically every day if they wanted to, and experience the same kind of atmosphere, the same kind of programs, and that they can start to do life together. And what was really interesting is just a couple years ago, we realized that more and more people were starting to come from out of state and even out of the country. We've had people come from Canada. And so we realized that to extend what we do, we wanted to do two different things. One is we started offering some of our things over the internet, so people can log in, whether it's live or recorded, and start participating in what we do. And then we've also started training people. We actually have somebody who's franchising what we're doing up into Canada to create an extension of who we are there. And so those are the two kind of formats that we started doing to replicate ourselves rather than trying to do everything. And so that's kind of what's been amazing about the retreats, is these insights and these revelations that we've had, that we're supposed to take what experiences in a weekend and become this weekly, everyday center, physical location, virtual location, and then, you know, these extended campuses and branches of what we do. And specifically where we're at this weekend is, the theme of it is Live Well, Love God, which is actually the theme of the center. And so we have Live Well, Love God everywhere, because when we realized that we were supposed to actually take what we do and make it into a center, a physical location, and a full-time ministry, I had this idea that we needed a catchphrase, we needed a slogan, and we started kind of bouncing around ideas. And the three of us, it's really interesting how we work because we have different personalities. And so I would toss out some things, and then it didn't really resonate with the other two. And then one of them would toss it out, and it didn't really resonate with us too. And so finally I said, okay, we just need to put it to bed, because this was just my random idea. Like, there's no real need for it. And so a couple months go by, and Dawn and I happened to be in San Diego for this weekend concert experience, and they had this vendor hall. And so we were camping, and I didn't have like a coffee mug, and so we went in there, and she said, oh look, this place has mugs. And so we walk up, and there's this one that just kind of speaks to me because it's all bright and colorful and kind of graffiti looking. And I pick it up and I start looking at it, and I'm like, Dawn, do you realize what this says? All over the mug it says Live Well, Love God, Live Well, Love God. Even down inside it says Live Well, Love God. And the verse that had kind of called to us as far as what our programs are about is the greatest commandment, Deuteronomy 6:5. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And that is on the inside of the rim. And I just sat there, and we both had chills, and we said, that's it. That encompasses who we are. We are here to help people learn what it means for them to live well. And living well really has both a physical aspect, right? We talk about health and things like that, but really it's about spiritual, mental, emotional, and relational health as well. And so live well, but you can't really live well without loving God. And so it became this perfect kind of slogan, and we decided to make it the theme for this retreat. I once heard that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I really thought that that was what I wanted. I wanted something meaningful and purposeful. And like I said, I started out in business, and I really got tired of people saying it's not personal, it's business, because I took it personal, and I saw how personal it was to the people who were being hurt or being disappointed by the way business was being run. So I got very disillusioned with it, and I decided to go into counseling because I thought, there's my purpose. But even then, counseling is one person at a time. And I realized that I wanted to do more. And I also realized, what if I could start teaching and prevent the reasons that people come for counseling? And so I still do some counseling through the center, but I wanted to start teaching too, because what if I could teach large groups of people and it would prevent them from ever needing to come and do counseling? And that's what drew me into ministry. I started working at a church, but the church kind of has this, I guess, established box that you're supposed to operate in. And after working there for 4 years, I realized that God was calling me kind of outside that box. And so it was really a scary moment where I stepped out in faith and said, okay, I don't know exactly what I'm doing. And so as God started giving us this vision, I realized that I could take all these different aspects of things that I love and bring them together and accomplish what my heart is, which is helping people live better and helping people connect with God and connect with each other. And so my emphasis in counseling was always kind of relational and faith. And so being able to do that day in and day out and really connecting with people. And so for me, it really is a dream becoming a reality. And it's really special for me and really important for me that people come in and really feel a sense of community. Because I tend to be fairly introverted, and so I really struggled with shyness growing up. And I would be one of those people who would walk in, and if nobody greeted me, I would immediately turn around and leave because I felt uncomfortable. And so I want to be one of those places where it doesn't matter who you are, when you walk in, you feel like you belong there and you're supposed to be there. And that whether you connect with me or Sharon or Dawn, one of us is going to resonate with you. And I think that's what's so powerful about having us be so different. One of us is going to resonate with you, and God's going to use one of us to speak to you. And so that is why I'm so passionate about it, is I just really want people to find ways to start making their lives better. And I really believe that that has to be founded on God, because He's the source of all good things. And in community, because we were made to be in relationship with each other. We weren't meant to live in isolation. And our culture is becoming more and more isolated. And so just providing this just space, this haven where they can kind of come and feel accepted and wanted, and they can be authentic. You know, all those masks that we wear everywhere else, you can actually leave it at the door and just be who you really are. And we're going to love on you and accept you. And God's going to continue to work on all of us. And that's something that's really important to us too, is Dawn, Sharon, and I, we are very transparent about the growth that God's made in us, the growth that we're still experiencing, because we want everybody to feel comfortable kind of being in that space, sharing their journey too. Well, one thing that I realized as we've started kind of thinking about investors is there's a lot of great places for you to put your time, your talent, and your treasure, right? And so many of those places really kind of focus on a niche group of people. And so it's been interesting to try to help people find this vision of kind of preventive wellness that encompasses the whole person. And that's one of the things that we want to overcome, is this reductionistic mindset where we're only going to treat a symptom. We're only going to treat one aspect of a person's life. And so what we're trying to do at the center is really work on the whole person and bring all these different pieces together. And so for people who are looking to invest in helping people live better lives, in helping our culture, and even specifically kind of the Christian church at large, become just better in how we interact with each other, better in how we treat one another and how we live our lives, we have to kind of take this mindset of everything's connected. You know, I'm not just my mind. I'm not just my heart. I'm not just my relationships. I'm all of it. And so we're really hoping that people catch the vision of how important it is to work on the whole person and to give them this opportunity to start living better and receiving the tools that help them live a better life, so that they then don't end up with all the diseases that we hear about, and they don't end up in divorce, and they don't end up with mental illness. And that's what we're trying to prevent, is by creating this place where people can come and really work on the entirety of their being in a very loving, accepting space, where hopefully they experience God's love in tangible form and just find a better way to live. So all those people who come into, you know, counseling rooms and doctors' offices and, you know, various treatment places, we're hoping that we can kind of catch them on the front end and help them start to learn how to live better now rather than waiting till things fall apart. Yeah. We've actually experienced quite a number of people who've come in and who have experienced some kind of transformation. And it's different for each person, because everybody comes in with their own woundedness and brokenness and their own work to do. And so the stories that we hear from people, it ranges from all of a sudden they've overcome certain illnesses or certain physical conditions that they were suffering from, they now don't experience anymore. Or we've heard of marriages that have been restored. We've heard of parent-child relationships that have been healed and brought together. We've heard of people who maybe had an eating disorder or who had a weight problem because they were overeating, and that all of a sudden now they have this really healthy relationship with food and this beautiful acceptance of who they are and how they are. And so we've also heard of very lonely people, very disconnected, lonely people who never felt like they fit in anywhere. And then they come and they realize that they fit in here and that they're wanted and accepted. We've had people who've accepted Christ as their Lord and Savior at the retreats, but also just day in, day out at the center. We've had people who have experienced transformation in just their relationship with God. And so every aspect that we hit on when it comes to this holistic approach to wellness really has resulted in some kind of transformation for quite a number of people. So Dawn, Sharon, and I, we are all trained in Christian yoga, and so when we started talking about doing the Center for Living Well, of course, yoga was going to be a part of it because we all love it and we think it's a wonderful way to worship. But we started to have this vision for training. And there's already, training programs out there. So we really had to pray about why create another training program when there's already really great training programs. And what we realized was it was the specialness of what the center has to offer. And so we have this kind of alternative that is available for people who want to be in a small group, who want to learn in community, because we don't allow our training groups to go any bigger than 12. And so we will keep it to 12 intentionally so that we can have this kind of small group relationship focus on our training. We also take our time. So rather than kind of doing some really quick intensive, we spread it out over 5 to 6 months, and we help people start to grow in their relationship with God and their confidence in teaching the Bible, their relationship with their bodies and their self-awareness and their, how comfortable they are with yoga, and then how to blend those together. And what I love is that our program is not just an instructor training program. It's called Yoga Ministry Leadership Training, because we're training people to become ministry leaders. And so above and beyond what they get in instructor trainings through other training programs, we're going to teach them how to be leaders. We're going to equip them to start and run a ministry successfully. And we're going to give them this great and supportive foundation that they can always connect back to through the center. And so whether they come and get trained and they decide to go and start their own thing, or if they decide that they want to become a branch of the Center for Living Well, we know that we're replicating ourselves and that we are creating really strong, Christ-centered, grounded ministry leaders who are out there really helping people and kind of spreading what we do.